There's a moment when the air shifts between two people. Nothing is said. Nothing changes on the surface. But somewhere deep in your nervous system, an alarm goes off. You can't explain it, but you know something is wrong. Carl Jung spent decades mapping these invisible territories of human interaction. He discovered that what people hide from themselves always bleeds through in patterns so consistent they become predictable. The contempt someone feels for you isn't just hidden from you, it's often hidden from them too. But the psyche, Jung observed, cannot lie. It speaks through micro-behaviors, energy shifts, and what he called shadow leakage. Most people walk through life completely blind to these signals. They feel the discomfort but can't name it. They sense the hostility but dismiss their intuition. Jung believed this blindness wasn't accidental. It was protective, because once you see these patterns, you can't unsee them. And the truth about how people really feel about you might be more unsettling than the comfortable illusion. What you're about to discover isn't just psychology, it's a survival mechanism that's been dormant in you, waiting to be activated. These 7 signs Jung identified don't just reveal who despises you. They reveal something far more profound, the hidden architecture of human deception and the way consciousness tries to hide from itself. Jung called it the mask of politeness wearing thin. When someone harbors genuine contempt for you, their face becomes a battlefield between what they think they should express and what they actually feel. The result is a specific type of smile, technically correct, socially appropriate, but eerily incomplete. You've felt this before. Someone smiles at you, says all the right words, but something in your gut contracts. Your primitive brain, the part that kept your ancestors alive, recognizes what your conscious mind wants to deny. This person's warmth is manufactured. Jung discovered that genuine positive emotion engages the entire facial structure, not just the mouth but the muscles around the eyes, the subtle lift in the cheeks, the unconscious softening of the forehead. But when someone despises you while trying to appear friendly, only the lower half of their face cooperates. The mouth curves upward in a learned social gesture, but the eyes remain cold, calculating, or worse, completely dead. It's as if two different people are inhabiting the same face, the social performer below, the true self above, separated by an invisible line across the bridge of the nose. This isn't just about fake smiles, though. Jung noticed something deeper happening in these moments. The person giving this half smile often experiences a micro-expression of disgust immediately before or after, a barely perceptible nose wrinkle, a slight pull at the corner of the mouth. It happens in milliseconds, but your unconscious catches it every time. This is why you feel uneasy around certain people even when they're being nice. Your deeper intelligence is picking up signals your rational mind is trained to ignore. The truly disturbing part? Many people showing you this fractured smile don't consciously know they despise you. Their contempt lives in what Jung called the shadow, the rejected parts of themselves they've pushed into unconscious darkness. They might genuinely believe they like you, or at least feel neutral. But the body doesn't lie. The eyes don't lie. And once you start noticing this split-face phenomenon, you'll see it everywhere. Watch for it especially in professional settings, family gatherings, or social circles where maintaining appearances matters more than authentic expression. The person who always greets you with that perfectly controlled smile, whose eyes seem to look through you rather than at you, they're showing you their shadow whether they know it or not. There's a peculiar form of memory that Jung identified in people harboring hidden resentment. While they might forget your achievements, your moments of triumph, or the times you helped them, they possess an almost supernatural ability to recall every mistake you've ever made, and more tellingly, they bring these memories up with a frequency that defies random chance. Remember when you becomes their favorite conversation starter, but it's never remember when you gave that brilliant presentation, or remember when you helped me through that difficult time. No, it's always, remember when you got that calculation wrong, or remember when you showed up late to that important meeting 3 years ago. Jung saw this selective memory as the psyche's way of justifying unconscious contempt. The human mind, Jung discovered, needs coherence. If someone harbors negative feelings toward you that they can't consciously acknowledge, maybe because it would make them look petty, or because they need something from you, their unconscious finds another way. It builds a case against you, collecting evidence like a prosecutor preparing for trial. Every small failure becomes magnified in their memory. Every mistake gets filed away in a special category marked, "Proof this person deserves my disdain." But here's where it gets truly fascinating. Jung observed that this selective memory often focuses on failures that mirror the person's own deepest insecurities. If they constantly bring up times you were financially irresponsible, look at their relationship with money. If they can't stop mentioning your social awkwardness from years ago, examine their own social fears. They're not just remembering your failures, they're projecting their shadow onto you, using your mistakes as a screen to play out their own self-hatred. This behavior intensifies during your successes. Win a promotion, start a new relationship, achieve something meaningful, and suddenly they're compelled to remind you of that embarrassing thing you did in college. It's the psyche's balancing act. They can't consciously attack your success without looking bitter, so they unconsciously undermine it by resurrecting your past failures. The pattern is consistent. Casual mentions that seem innocent but carry a subtle sting. "Oh, you're giving advice about relationships? Didn't you get dumped pretty badly a few years back?" They'll laugh, claim they're just joking, but Jung knew better. Humor, he said, is often how the shadow speaks its truth while maintaining plausible deniability. Jung documented a phenomenon he initially struggled to explain in scientific terms. When certain people who secretly despised someone entered their presence, the target would experience an inexplicable energy drain. Not metaphorically, literally. They'd feel physically exhausted after even brief interactions, as if something vital had been extracted from them. Modern psychology might call this emotional labor or cognitive load, but Jung saw something more primitive at work. When someone harbors hidden contempt for you, every interaction becomes a form of psychic warfare. They're simultaneously suppressing their true feelings, maintaining a social facade, and unconsciously attacking you through what Jung called negative psychic energy. You know this feeling. You walk into a room and someone greets you normally, but within minutes, you feel like you need to lie down. Your shoulders tense, your breathing becomes shallow, a headache starts forming at the base of your skull. Nothing overtly negative has happened, but your body is screaming at you to leave. This isn't paranoia, it's your nervous system detecting a threat your conscious mind can't see. Jung observed that people who secretly despise you engage in specific energy-draining behaviors. They ask questions but don't listen to answers. They make you repeat yourself. They create unnecessary complications in simple situations. They disagree with points that don't matter, forcing you to defend positions you don't even care about. Each interaction becomes a subtle battle where you're constantly on defense, never quite sure what you're defending against. The most insidious part? They often present themselves as victims while draining you. They'll monopolize conversations with their problems, dismiss your attempts to help, then blame you for not understanding. They create scenarios where you're always falling short, always owing them something more. Jung recognized this as a form of unconscious revenge. They can't openly attack you, so they exhaust you instead. This energy vampirism extends beyond conversation. They'll accidentally create chaos in your environment. Suddenly, there are always problems when they're around. Technology breaks, plans fall through, simple tasks become complicated. It's as if they carry a field of dysfunction that specifically targets your peace of mind. Jung believed this wasn't coincidence, but the unconscious mind's ability to manifest internal contempt as external disruption. Pay attention to your body after interacting with different people. The ones who secretly despise you will leave a specific signature, a combination of exhaustion and agitation, like you've been in a fight but can't remember throwing any punches. Your body keeps score even when your mind refuses to acknowledge the game being played. Jung discovered one of the most sophisticated forms of hidden aggression, the compliment that leaves you feeling worse about yourself. These aren't obvious backhanded compliments that anyone could spot. They're far more subtle, targeting your unconscious insecurities with surgical precision. "You're so brave to wear that," they'll say, implying that what you're wearing requires courage because it's somehow inappropriate or unflattering. "I could never be as relaxed about success as you are," suggesting you're not ambitious enough. It's amazing how you don't care what people think when you've never indicated you don't care, planting the seed that perhaps you should care more. Jung saw these shadow compliments as manifestations of what he called the trickster archetype in the shadow. The person delivering them often believes they're being genuinely nice. Their conscious mind has packaged their contempt so cleverly that even they don't recognize it as an attack. But their unconscious knows exactly what it's doing, finding your soft spots and pressing on them while maintaining complete deniability. The pattern Jung identified was consistent. These shadow compliments always contain an embedded assumption about your deficiencies. They praise you for things that shouldn't require praise, implying you're usually failing at them. "You look so professional today," implies you usually don't. "Your presentation was surprisingly good," suggests they expected it to be bad. Each compliment carries within it the ghost of an insult. Watch how these comments cluster around your achievements or moments of confidence. Get a promotion, and they'll say, "It's great they're giving you a chance despite your lack of experience." Start dating someone new, and they seem like they really accept you for who you are. The message is always the same. You're lucky, not deserving. You're being tolerated, not valued. Jung noticed that people who use shadow compliments often have a specific tell. They watch your face intently as they deliver them. They're unconsciously looking for the micro-flinch, the momentary drop in your expression that tells them their arrow found its mark. They feed on that tiny moment of doubt they've created in you. It's emotional nutrition for their shadow, proof that they've successfully diminished you without having to acknowledge their aggression. The most damaging shadow compliments target things you can't change or struggles you've overcome. "You handle your background so well," they'll say about your humble origins. "It's inspiring how you don't let your limitations stop you." They're reopening old wounds while pretending to admire how well they've healed. One of Jung's most disturbing discoveries about hidden contempt was how it manifests around suffering. When you share a difficulty, loss, or challenge with someone who secretly despises you, they respond with what Jung called competitive victimhood. They can't simply acknowledge your pain. They must immediately eclipse it with their own. You mention you're stressed about work. They launch into how their job is killing them. You share that you're going through a breakup. They detail their worst romantic history. You reveal a health concern. They list their medical conditions. It's not empathy or connection. It's a race to the bottom where they must always win. Jung recognized this as the shadow's inability to tolerate you receiving compassion or occupying the position of someone deserving care. But it goes deeper than simple one-upmanship. Jung observed that people harboring hidden contempt often minimize your suffering through comparison. "At least you have a job," they'll say when you express work stress. "At least you were only together for 2 years," when you're grieving a relationship. They acknowledge your pain only to immediately diminish it, suggesting you're being dramatic for feeling what you feel. This competitive pattern reveals something profound about their unconscious state. They cannot bear the thought of you receiving sympathy, support, or acknowledgement that positions you as worthy of care. Their shadow views your suffering as either fake, exaggerated, or less significant than their own hidden struggles. Every expression of your humanity becomes a threat to their unconscious narrative that you deserve their contempt. Jung noticed these people often have an encyclopedic memory for times when you didn't adequately acknowledge their suffering. They'll bring up how you weren't there for them during some crisis years ago, using it to justify their current emotional unavailability. But examine the actual history, and you'll find the support was never reciprocal. They've always competed with your pain while demanding unlimited compassion for their own. The most toxic manifestation of this pattern is when they seem to take secret pleasure in your suffering. They ask probing questions about your difficulties, not from concern, but from a need to hear the details. They want to know exactly how much you're struggling, how badly you're hurt. Jung identified this as shadow feeding. They're unconsciously nourishing themselves on your pain, using it to justify their hidden feelings of superiority and contempt. Not all hatred speaks. Some hides behind serenity. You feel it when you enter a room and everything goes still, but not peaceful stillness. It's the silence of judgment unspoken. They may not criticize you. They may even smile, but their presence feels like a wall. This is what Jung called the collective shadow, the unacknowledged hostility that groups share toward those who don't conform. Sometimes it's not one person who despises you. It's an entire environment. A shared unspoken energy that says, you are too different for our comfort. The weight you feel isn't personal, it's archetypal. It's the human fear of the unfamiliar. And if you're someone who sees through illusions, you'll often walk through this kind of silence, not because you're wrong, but because your presence reminds others of what they've abandoned in themselves. Jung once wrote, "The individual who awakens becomes a stranger in his own tribe, and in that awakening, you stop needing their validation and start seeking truth itself." Every time someone despises you in secret, they're showing you the wound they've refused to integrate. And every time you despise someone else, you're doing the same. Hidden contempt is humanity's shared blindness. We see others not as they are, but as fragments of ourselves we cannot yet forgive. Jung believed that the only way forward was to bring these shadows into light, not by exposing others, but by turning inward. Because when you can hold your own darkness without shame or projection, you stop needing enemies at all. When you live from that center, you no longer read people from fear. You see them through understanding. Their hostility becomes information, not injury. Their envy becomes compassion's teacher, and their silence becomes your mirror for peace. That's the moment you realize you are not here to be liked. You are here to be real. And the more authentic you become, the fewer people will resonate with your frequency. But those who do will see you clearly, without projection, without shadow. And that kind of connection is worth more than 1,000 polite masks. Jung believed humanity's next evolution would not be technological. It would be psychological. The real revolution is learning to see without projecting. When enough of us do that, when we stop needing to hide our shadows behind others, a different world begins. A world where understanding replaces suspicion, where awareness replaces fear, and where love is no longer an act, but a state of being. So the next time you sense that subtle, despising glance, don't rush to defend or judge. Just notice. Because in that moment, you're witnessing the most universal truth of all. We are all haunted by the parts of ourselves we've yet to love,